Okay, guys, it's a little late, but The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. Is it Smaug or Smaug? Let's just call him Smaug, because that's how they pronounce it in the movie. I mentioned this in my book thief review. I saw 3 movies last weekend in a row. Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug was the second one. I saw it, believe it or not, in 3 freaking D. I can't make a D with my hand. Okay. I gotta tell you, it was the only option then, because I wanted to see one movie, which I'll get to here in a minute with the next review. It was at a later showtime. I'm like, crap. Here's this movie, Book Thief, and I'm like, well, there's this whole period. What do I got to see? Oh, The Hobbit. That starts right when Book Thief ends and gets over a little bit before Dallas Buyers Club begins. Oops, I ruined it. Sorry. So yeah, that's gonna be my next review. I'll get that up in a few once I get done with this review. And I took forever on the Book Thief review, so I'm going to make this one as short and sweet as I can. Let's just say The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug kicks Unexpected Journey's butt when it comes to a lot of things. The pace and the characters and the action and everything was hugely improved. Jackson has almost to the point redeemed himself. Okay, he was not... Okay. Let's just say after Unexpected Journey, I was not calling Peter Jackson the new George Lucas. I was not doing that. However, I did say that he needs just a little bit of redemption. I think he's getting almost all of it back from Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug. There's a lot to like about this movie. So the plot, basically, the Bilbo and Gandalf and the 13 dwarves are continuing on their journey to the Lonely Mountain to dethrone Smaug, who's, sleeping in gold, basically, and I would guess the equivalent of trillions of dollars of gold, something like that. And in order to do that, they need their burglar to steal the Arkenstone from that place, to reunite all the dwarves, to take down the dragon, and also there's the upcoming threat of the Necromancer, I believe is how you called it, yes. Which actually turns out to be a villain who we are familiar with in the Lord of the Rings franchise. And that's my rundown of it. Let's just cut to the chase. The first third of the movie was so-so. The second third of the movie was better, but still a little so-so. The third act of the movie was almost all up to the level of Lord of the Rings trilogy. The first 2 acts were, it was overall better than Unexpected Journey, but not by a whole lot. The third act brought it up to I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I didn't love it, but I can't say that I was on the same level as Unexpected Journey, which I have not seen since I saw it in the theater last year. This one, yeah, I'm leaning more towards getting this one when it comes out and seeing it again. Because this is totally worth a repeat viewing, not just because it's shorter, which helps a little bit, but a lot of things are improved big time. The fights and the action sequences and the pacing, all immediately better than the first movie, which drug it out big time. Like, Jackson was stretching it to the point of almost breaking. That's one toffee that doesn't come out very well. This is toffee that's much, much better. Yeah, let's leave the analogy at that. So, one of the things that was immediately improved, I've already mentioned it 2 times now, action sequences. There's one action sequence, the barrel sequence. You've probably heard a lot about it. This was an amazing sequence. Actually, the barrel sequence, it's about as fun as a couple of moments in the Battle of, Gondor. During Return of the King, remember there were a few fun moments, like when the Oliphants, or whatever they were called, came in, and there was that scene where Legolas takes down one of the big elephants, and it was the most awesome holy crap moment in all of film. I actually reviewed the film Return of the King, and when I got to that part, in the review, I think I got a little excited. So I'll definitely recommend, if you want to see me get excited, you watch me review Return of the King and mention the part where he takes down the Oliphant. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? I don't know. There was a period there where Lord of the Rings was like my favorite thing, like better than Star Wars, and then I came back and I said, wait a minute, Star Wars is like the most precious thing to me. How can I dare say anything come close to topping it? And then, then my adult mentalities came in, and overall I think I do like Star Wars better, but you cannot deny that Lord of the Rings trilogy is amazing, just simply amazing. So let's just say that, and the whole end sequence with Smaug is a great deal of fun to watch. That's the only thing, though, is like Return of the King, which is, and it's a slight complaint with Return of the King, is eventually you get to the point where you're like, well, all these characters are, are invulnerable. They're all invincible. Nothing can kill these people. You got Legolas taking down a huge elephant by himself. And then you got dwarves running around and they should be on fire, from the dragon, and they should be, they're jumping down from certain points. They should be dead on impact. There's certain things, you just like, it's a little non-realistic. But then again, we're in the middle of Middle Earth where there's so many things. There's elves and there's dwarves and there's dark lords and there's dragons. Yeah, this is totally realistic. Yeah, this is based off true facts. Anyways, let's move on here. Basically those two sequences are on the level of Lord of the Rings trilogy stuff. There was only one sequence in Unexpected Journey, which was the Hobbit, the Gollum and Bilbo conversation about riddles in the dark. That sequence was, for me, so gratifying to watch, because that movie, you sit through 2 hours of pretty much almost crap that is slow and meandering and monotonous and full of big speeches. And then you get to the riddles in the dark, and it is so much fun to watch. It is so much fun to watch, and then you get this, which is so much better paced. Desolation of Smaug is so much better paced. The action sequences are much more gratifying. There's also this kind of spider sequence, which is cool. I didn't like it quite as much as the Shelob sequence from Return of the King, or the barrel sequence, which comes later in this movie, but on the par of good action scenes, though. There's a couple of things in the movie that I really like too. Thorin Oakenshield is kind of his movie, the same way that Aragorn had the second movie, had Two Towers. Here, this is Thorin's movie, and he gets the best moments in the film, no doubt. I'm still liking Martin Freeman a whole lot as Bilbo. He's got acting chops that are great. Ian McKellen takes a real backseat in this story. He doesn't get more than 6 scenes. He's really cut out from this. This is like kind of like Two Towers. This is the one where he's like away for the whole movie, and we only cut back to him every once in a while. There's almost a period in there, like an hour, where we don't see Gandalf at all. That's what it feels like, an hour. I don't know if it's exactly an hour, but it's at least a good 40 minutes where Gandalf is nowhere to be found. And it's kind of a twist there. And then at the same time, we've got Keeley and a couple other dwarves that stay behind from going to the Lonely Mountain, and we have to follow them. And I can't remember the character's name, but he's like the Bard or something. Something Bard. He's played by Luke Evans. Of course, I know the actor's name when I don't know the character's name. And he stays behind with them, and there's this whole subplot. There's the subplot of the dwarves. There's a subplot of Gandalf. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Kind of like Two Towers. You had Merry and Pippin. You had the Warriors 3, so to speak. You had Frodo and Sam and Gollum. So yeah, this is the Two Towers of this Hobbit trilogy, and it knows it. And it's trying to outsmart the Two Towers, I think, in a couple of sequences, but I know it knows it can't quite do it. You just can't match the scale of the Battle of Helm's Deep. Oh, it is so freaking cool to watch. Even 10 years on now. 11, sorry. It's been 11 years now. So damn cool. But let's move on here. Let's get to a couple of complaints from me. Number one, there's a love element added into this. Between Legolas, this chick, and Keeley. And I have to say, I was not interested. I was not interested at all in this romance. Then again, I thought the romance between Arwen and Aragorn was kind of sappy too in Lord of the Rings trilogy, but at least that was decent enough to have it be 2 minutes. Whereas this, we almost take 30 minutes out of the movie, all devoted to this whole thing. And it's actually kind of difficult to watch in some parts, because you're just like, oh, you're kind of almost wincing from a couple of lines of dialogue that are just like, uh-oh, that's not good. Particularly from Keeley the dwarf, the tall dwarf, so to speak. Anyways, yeah, let's see. Otherwise, it was one little, the stuff with what's the guy's name? The other wizard, I want to say Aracast, something like that. Baracast, Caracast, Daracast, Carrot Top. I don't know the character's name. He's basically the other wizard with Gandalf, and his character what felt like the almost Jar Jar Binks of Unexpected Journey. Here, he's reduced. Good job, Peter Jackson. His character didn't feel all that necessary, and there were a couple of parts with Gandalf's subplot that kind of felt a little bit like they're forcing material. You either include Gandalf in all this going on at the Lonely Mountain, or you don't, and you leave it that way. That's my opinion. But and nothing too much that he does affects too much in the plot. I'll say almost. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it yet, but it's been out for almost a week now, so spoilers are almost free game. But I will save you this one in case you don't know what it is and you're still interested. Otherwise, the first two-thirds of it kind of, sometimes the pace would kind of slop just a little bit, but then it'd bring it back up. But the whole sequence at Lake Town and all that eventually started to get a little bit slower, and then when they finally are getting ready to go to the Lonely Mountain, about half an hour after they get there, then you can feel the anticipation building. We're going to see the dragon. We're an hour and a half, almost 2 hours in the movie, we're going to get the dragon. We're getting closer to the dragon, because I think it's the last 45 minutes or so are all about the dragon. At least the last half hour is all about the dragon. Voiced by and motion capture performance by Benedict Cumberbatch. Ooh, yeah, he's had a good year, with the exception of probably being Fifth Estate, which was a box office bomb. But anyway, he's also still got August Osage County coming up. He's a supporting role in that. He was Khan. I hate that. I hate that Spock yell. That was one thing that almost brought the movie down to a 6 out of 10 for me for that one. But I digress. And he is rising up. I think in the next couple of years he could almost have his own movie and people actually check it out. That dragon stole the whole last third of the movie. Great performance, great action sequences, and really well envisioned. And the visual effects, usually in visual effects movies like this where they're big, the production cost is like $300 million plus. After a while it all starts to look monotonous. Here, the dragon, it looks like they took careful time and careful detail to make this dragon look good, and they did a hell of a job. The special effects and all the stuff at the end is definitely worth talking about when it comes to Oscar time. Even though Gravity's going to win the Oscar, this is stuff, this is the second tier stuff that could overtake it. If let's say Gravity has a huge backlash with the Academy in the next couple of weeks, this is the film that's going to stand up and take the award. It is well earned, I think. In my personal opinion, I think Gravity's effects were still better, but both are on the highest of levels, though. Good special effects work. Okay, let me quickly, because I've got one more review to do. I spent way too much time on Book Thief review. I guess because since I got the score to that movie, that's the one that's surprising. It's the one I like least, but it's the one that sticks with me the most. But still, I didn't hate it. Because sometimes when you see a bad movie, like you hate it, like for me, Man of Steel, then it sticks with you for a while. And then, it either sticks with you because it's such a disappointment or so bad, or it's because, it sticks with you for maybe a couple of days and then it's gone. You don't care. You don't care anymore. So, it's one of those cases, Book Thief, where, I still like I still care about the movie enough to buy the soundtrack and all that, but, it's one that's sticking to my memory closer. I don't know what it is. Not to say I'm totally forgetting Desolation of Smaug, but and I do remember a good, huge chunk of the movie, especially that last sequence, But the first sequences, I hardly remember what the first part was about. What did it start at? Oh, that's what I was going to mention. The opening scene for Desolation of Smaug, almost put me to sleep. Because it's basically the if you didn't see the first movie intro, that basically sets up what half the audience, or maybe more than half the audience, already knows. It's one of those things where you're just like, okay, get rolling. I paid $50, I'm just exaggerating. I paid $100 to get here. I want to see some Hobbit now. Move along, and you're not doing it, man. It's like a 6-minute sequence where it's just the two talking, Thorin and Gandalf, and you're just like, we know what Thorin wants to do. We know that Gandalf wants to help him. We know all this. Move on. Because that part, I was like, uh-oh, we're in trouble here. I said, this is going to be a worse movie. But then by the end, yeah, it was good and thrilling. And I'll mention one quick thing here before I get to the 3D. The ending, it ends on a cliffhanger. I'll leave you at that. And I have to say, in future, when people are talking about cliffhanger endings, this and Hunger Games are the two quintessential go-to cliffhangers, because they do it pretty well in their own right. Because cliffhangers, you do them one of two ways. You do them, boom, that's it, as in you cut to black almost suddenly, like enough to make an audience jump out of their seats, or you end it where it's at, and you say there's more to be done, but this is a good stopping point, kind of like reading a book. You're like, oh, okay, I'm done with this chapter, but this next chapter, oh, it's going to be so great. But it's a good stopping place. Let's stop here, close the book, go to bed, whatever you're doing. Keep working, whatever you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah, there's movies, and they both work as cliffhangers. This is example A to an extreme point, almost to the point of like suddenness that it's bad. Not to complain about it too much, but yeah, it's kind of like that. Because Hunger Games Catching Fire even did it about as well, I would say. It was still pretty sudden, but you can, it's still a sensible enough stopping place. Here, this didn't quite feel all that sensible, I'm afraid. This one felt more like let's wow the audience with a sudden cliffhanger, and I was like, okay, well, that's over. Moving on, and then I was moving on to the third movie by then. So I mentioned I didn't happen to notice until I got to the ticket office and I was buying my tickets. I said, I'm also going to see the 5/3 showing The Hobbit. And I looked at the ticket price. I was like, that's higher. And I was like, what? And then I saw the ticket. It said two little points there, 3D. I was like, crap. I hate 3D. 3D is awful. 3D, the only thing 3D adds is more taxes coming out of your pocket. Well, so to speak, taxes. We'll say dollars at this point. But it's basically more tax money they take off you, too. Like their tax. You get what I mean. 3D did not add anything. There were a couple of parts I was like, oh, cool, an arrow coming towards me. Oh, I didn't fall for it. Just points like that, you're just like, oh, that was cool, I guess. Moving on. And then there were a couple of parts, actually, with the dragon with the 3D that actually kind of worked. But I don't think it was the 48 frames per second. I'm still not into that gag, and I'm not going to. It wasn't the IMAX 3D. It was just a regular real 3D, I guess they call it. I'm not a huge expert on this. I had to drive a few miles to get to see this in 3D. So that was the plan. Originally was not to see it in 3D, and then it turned out my schedule had to be all right. So I was also going to see. I'll share a little story here. I was actually going to go really early to like a 9 o'clock showing in the morning of Philomena with Judi Dench. I figured out how to pronounce the movie now. I was saying Philomena in my whole video, but it's Philomena with Judi Dench. I was like, this movie, people are saying it's going to grab an Oscar nod for Best Actress for Judi Dench, and I love Judi Dench. I mean, she's one of our finest actresses, in all of the past 50 years at least. And even then, she's only been acting in films for 20 years now. Something like that, yeah. And most of it's also been stage and television too. But I haven't necessarily caught up to that yet. Yeah, I really wanted to see it, but then what happened was, because I was originally gonna have a couple people go with me, and then they backed out, and I'm just like, crap. Well, I might as well not go. I'm driving by. Why be all by myself? For 9 hours on a Saturday, just all by myself. Just sitting in a dark room, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? I'll go. And by that time, it was late enough where I had to rearrange my whole schedule. And I had to cut out Philomena and Nebraska, too. I was going to rewatch Nebraska because it was so good, but yeah. Sorry about that Eric Carmen thing. That was probably a little out of whack. But anyways, yeah, I was going to see Nebraska again because it was so good. And I think it's, yeah, after the 3 films I've seen, it's still ranked second best on my of the year list. But I have not seen American Hustle, Wolf of Wall Street, or Saving Mr. Banks yet. I think any of those 3, and also Her, which opened today, and it's in limited release, so I can't say yay because I know it's far away from me, and it's limited release, L.A. and New York. So yeah. Let's just leave it at that. The 3D did not add anything except more dollars coming out of my pocket. Can't say it was totally worth it. So not to disappoint you too much and leave it on a bad note, but I did enjoy the movie way more than the first one. It was cool to see Orlando Bloom back as Legolas kicking butt, and I think the actress's name is Evangeline Lilly. I've heard that a couple of times. Yeah, that's right. She was nominated Critics' Choice for leading actress in a action movie. I'm like, she is supporting at best, dude. She's almost like a third-tier character in the story, too. So I don't know why they're giving her a lead for. God, I don't know. Critics' Choice. Especially those new categories added on. But this is not about that. This is about The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, which I give 8 out of 10. Great film. Action fans, yeah, Hobbit fans, I'm sure you've seen it twice already, and you're sweating in your nerd pants over it. I'm still digging The Hobbit, this new trilogy, but the third one, it looks like they're setting it up to be the Return of the King of the trilogy that's really going to do a nice job and be a really nice story. So, with that, we will see you next time. I've got one more review to do quick. Hopefully this one was shorter for you. This next one, I have only a couple of comments to say about it that were negative, and a lot to say that was positive. So, we'll see how that goes.